A black janitor was unfairly fired after being caught kissing a farmer in the middle of the supermarket. With no way out, she struggles to support her son and grandmother, until an unexpected act by the farmer leaves everyone speechless. Aaliyah stood near the canned goods section, holding a damp mop against the tiled floor. It was late afternoon. The supermarket had that stale smell of overripe fruit and cleaning detergent. Aaliyah's hands ached from scrubbing dried spills. Her uniform felt rough on her skin. She moved slowly, pushing the mop forward, then squeezing it in the nearby bucket. She did not talk to anyone. No one bothered to talk to her. She just worked, keeping her head down, hoping to get through another shift without trouble. A new customer passed by, looking for something on the top shelves. Aaliyah stepped aside, not making eye contact. She just wanted to finish cleaning the aisle and move on to the next task. While dragging the mop head along the floor, she noticed a man at the far end of the aisle. He stood by a stand of cereal boxes, not picking anything up, just watching. She recognized him. He was Peter, the man who owned this supermarket and several farms outside town. He visited now and then, always quiet, always dressed neatly. He wore a light shirt and expensive-looking boots. He never spoke to her directly. He never smiled. He just looked. Aaliyah tried to ignore him. She forced herself to focus on the dirty tiles, the stubborn stain near the freezers. She pressed the mop harder, feeling her wrist strain. She glanced over her shoulder. Peter was still there. He was tall and still, like he was waiting for something. Aaliyah felt a slight nervous tension in her stomach. She knew he was the boss behind the scenes. She could not afford to annoy him. But why did he keep staring? A harsh voice broke the silence. "Aaliyah," said the store manager, Mr. Collins, standing behind a stack of canned peaches. He was short and balding, wearing a cheap tie and holding a clipboard. "You're too slow today," he said. "Hurry up and cover aisle 4. We have customers complaining about sticky floors near the produce section. Move it." Aaliyah nodded, swallowing her pride. "Yes, Mr. Collins," she said quietly. She kept her voice calm. She had learned long ago that complaining did nothing. The manager frowned. "Don't waste time," he said. "We have shipments arriving tomorrow, and I need you to reorganize the back storage room before you leave tonight. Do you understand?" Aaliyah looked down at the bucket of dirty water. "I understand," she said. He walked away without another word. She took a deep breath. She had no choice. She needed this job. Liam, her 5-year-old son, was at home with her grandmother. They depended on her income. If she lost this job, she would have nothing. It was hard enough to pay for Liam's medicine when he got sick, hard enough to keep the old house in order. Without steady work, it would all collapse. She tried not to think about it too much. She just cleaned and hoped tomorrow would be better. With the mop balanced over her shoulder, Aaliyah headed toward aisle 4. She passed a few other employees who pretended not to see her. She did not mind. They never offered help anyway. At the produce section, a box of apples had spilled, and sticky juice covered the floor. She knelt down, scrubbing vigorously. Her knees hurt against the hard tile. A couple of customers stepped around her, not saying hello, just pretending she was part of the scenery. Aaliyah's mind drifted to home. Liam would be with Grandma in the living room, maybe watching the small TV. Grandma's breathing had been rough lately. They needed better food, some rest. But Aaliyah worked long hours. She should get home in a few hours, cook something simple, then tend to the small backyard garden. The garden was her last hope of extra income. She sold a few ears of corn when she could. Every penny counted. She rubbed harder, her shoulder muscles burning. The smell of cleaning solution stung her nose. She finished mopping the sticky spot and stood up. Turning her head, she caught a glimpse of Peter again. He had moved closer, standing near a display of oranges, studying her with the same intense, quiet stare. Aaliyah's heart beat faster. She was not used to anyone paying attention to her like that. The manager yelled at her, customers ignored her, co-workers avoided her, but Peter just stood and watched. She felt both uneasy and curious. It was time to move to another aisle and continue the cleaning routine. She would have to empty trash bins and wipe down the freezer doors before the end of her shift. As she rolled her cleaning cart forward, she glanced around to check if Peter was still there. Yes, he was. His presence made her feel warm and tense at the same time. She wished he would say something, anything, but he did not. A young clerk approached her, a teen boy pushing a cart of bananas. He looked bored. "Hey," he said, "Collins said to tell you to clean the storage room right after this. He wants it done before closing." Aaliyah nodded. "Thanks," she said, trying to keep her voice even. "Sure." The boy shrugged and walked away, leaving her alone with the mop and bucket. She continued working, doing her best to ignore the knot forming in her chest. She told herself to stay calm. Nothing was wrong. She had a job to do, and that was it. The supermarket air was stale, the floors were dirty, and her back hurt. Nothing new, but something was new. Peter's stare felt different today. He seemed more focused on her than usual. Aaliyah wiped her brow with the back of her hand. She wondered if he noticed how tired she was or how hard she worked. Maybe he was just checking on the staff, making sure everyone did their job. Or maybe he was trying to figure her out. She could not tell. She spotted him again near the far corner, walking slowly toward her aisle. Her pulse jumped. She pressed her lips together, unsure what to do if he approached. She did not want to say anything stupid. She did not want to lose her job. She should act normal. She adjusted her grip on the mop and started cleaning again, as if nothing was unusual. The last customer in her aisle picked up a bag of potatoes and left. The store grew quieter as closing time approached. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead. Aaliyah wiped another section of floor, listening to the faint rustle of plastic bags and the distant hum of a cooler. She heard slow footsteps. She looked up. Peter was coming closer. He stopped a few feet away, his posture relaxed, his hands at his sides. He wore a plain shirt and dark jeans. Up close, his face had a serious look, but not unfriendly. He studied her, then took a small step forward. Aaliyah swallowed, feeling sweat on the back of her neck. Peter said nothing at first. He seemed to consider his words before speaking. The silence pressed on Aaliyah's nerves. She wanted to say something, but words got stuck in her throat. She waited. Finally, Peter spoke. His voice was low and even. "You work hard. You're here late every day." He glanced at the floor and then back at her. "I've noticed." Aaliyah's heart skipped a beat. She did not know what to say. "Yes," she managed. "I have a lot to do. I need this job." Peter nodded. "I know." He looked around, checking if anyone was nearby. There was no one. "I want to—" Suddenly, the manager's voice cut through the air. "Aaliyah, hurry up. We're closing soon. Storage room, now." Aaliyah blinked and stepped back. Peter nodded at her and stepped aside. letting her pass. She pulled her cart forward, heart pounding. She did not look back. But she felt his eyes on her as she headed toward the back of the store, mind racing, unsure what to make of his attention. Aaliyah pushed her cleaning cart toward the storage room at the back of the store. The aisle lights were dimmer now. The store would close soon. She took a deep breath, trying to calm the tightness in her chest. She had felt Peter's eyes on her, and his quiet words still echoed in her head. She did not understand why he cared. He had power and money. She was just a janitor. The storage room door squeaked as she opened it. Inside, there were boxes stacked high and shelves filled with cleaning supplies. It smelled of cardboard and old dust. She had to reorganize a stack of bottled drinks before clocking out. She grabbed a box and set it on the floor, sorting through items. Her arms were tired, but she forced herself to keep working. She needed this job. She could not fail. Footsteps approached from the hallway. She heard the door creak. Peter stepped inside. He closed the door behind him, leaving them alone in the cramped space. His boots made a soft sound on the concrete floor. Aaliyah stood still, holding a can of disinfectant spray. Her heart thumped hard. "Am I interrupting?" Peter asked in a low voice. Aaliyah looked at him. "Mr. Peter," she said, unsure how to address him. "I'm just finishing up. The manager wanted me to reorganize these shelves." Peter nodded and took a step closer. The storage room was small, so they ended up face to face, only a foot apart. Aaliyah smelled his cologne, something clean and simple. She felt warm. She hoped her voice would not shake. She lowered the can and placed it on a shelf. "I'm sorry if I made you uncomfortable earlier," Peter said, keeping his voice quiet. "I know I've been watching you. I do that sometimes. I like to see who works hard. You do a lot here." Aaliyah's hands felt clammy. She wiped them on her uniform. "I do my best," she said. "I have a family to take care of." Peter nodded. "I know," he said. "I heard about your situation. Your son. Your grandmother. It must be hard." Aaliyah tensed. "I'm managing," she said, keeping her tone steady. "I just need to keep this job." Peter leaned slightly, resting a hand on a shelf behind her. "I respect that," he said. "Hard work should matter. I'm sorry about how you're treated here." He paused. I don't usually talk to employees, but you—" He stopped talking and looked into her eyes. Aaliyah felt heat in her cheeks. She tried to look away, but his gaze held her. She did not move. She did not tell him to leave. Part of her wanted him to stay. She did not know why. There was something sincere in his eyes. Outside, muffled sounds of closing announcements drifted in, but the storage room felt sealed off from the rest of the world. Aaliyah could feel her pulse in her neck. Peter spoke again, voice softer. "You deserve better," he said. "I want you to know that." Aaliyah swallowed. "Why are you telling me this?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. He hesitated, then lowered his head slightly. "Because I've been watching you," he said. "Not just how you work, but how you carry yourself. You're strong. You don't complain. You keep going. It makes me admire you." Aaliyah felt a strange mix of emotions. She should be cautious. He was the owner, her boss. He had power she did not. Still, he seemed honest. She could not deny the pull she felt. Her heart beat faster, and her palms felt damp. "I don't know what to say," she said quietly. Peter moved closer, now only inches away. Aaliyah felt her back press against a shelf. He raised his hand slowly, as if unsure, and brushed a strand of hair from her face. She tensed, but did not move away. His touch was gentle. Her breath caught in her throat. "I won't hurt you," Peter said softly. I can't stop thinking about you." Aaliyah's mind raced. She should tell him this was wrong, that she needed to work, that she could not risk it. But instead, she looked at him, studying his face. He did not look threatening. He looked nervous, unsure, almost vulnerable. She parted her lips, trying to find words, but Peter leaned in. His lips touched hers, light and hesitant. She felt the warmth of him, tasted a faint trace of coffee on his breath. She did not push him away. She did not resist. She kissed him back, just for a moment, letting herself feel something other than worry and exhaustion. His hand rested lightly on her shoulder. The kiss lasted a few seconds. Then he pulled back, searching her face for a reaction. Aaliyah's cheeks burned. She took a shaky breath. She could not believe she let him do that. She wondered if this would cost her everything, but part of her did not regret it. "I'm sorry," he said, voice low. "I shouldn't have." Aaliyah shook her head. "I didn't say stop," she whispered, though her voice wavered. Peter looked relieved. He leaned in again, this time with a bit more certainty. Their lips met, and she closed her eyes. Her heart pounded. She had not felt this kind of attention in years. He placed his other hand gently on her arm, and she pressed her fingertips against his shoulder. The shelves behind her rattled slightly as she leaned back. Suddenly, footsteps sounded outside. The door handle rattled. They froze. Aaliyah pushed Peter away, heart racing. The door opened. 2 employees, a man and a woman, peeked in. Their eyes widened at the sight of Aaliyah and Peter standing close, breathing hard. Sorry," said the male employee, pulling the door shut again. Aaliyah heard muffled whispers outside. Her chest tightened with panic. "They saw us," she said. "This is bad." Peter stepped back, running a hand through his hair. "I'll handle it," he said. "No one will dare say anything." Aaliyah bit her lip. "Mr. Peter," she said, voice urgent. "I need this job. Don't let them blame me." He shook his head. "I won't," he said. "I'll make sure no one blames you. This is on me." Aaliyah nodded, feeling adrenaline surge through her veins. She looked at the boxes around them, trying to calm down. The taste of his kiss still lingered on her lips. She felt both excited and afraid. She had crossed a line with him. She had allowed it. Now, she had to deal with the consequences. Peter reached for the door. "Finish here," he said quietly. "I'll make sure you're safe." Aaliyah said nothing, just nodded. He left the storage room, closing the door carefully. She could hear his footsteps fade away. She stood there, breathing fast, trying to steady herself. She touched her lips, remembering his warmth, his scent, his quiet words. Outside, the store's lights dimmed further. Closing time approached. Aaliyah checked her watch. She had a few more tasks to finish. Then she could go home. She had to hope Peter would keep his word and protect her job. She moved a few boxes, placed them neatly on a shelf, trying to act normal. But her heart still raced. She knew what just happened would not remain a secret for long. Aaliyah arrived the next morning feeling a knot in her stomach. She had slept poorly. She kept replaying the scene in the storage room, the kiss, and the shocked faces at the door. She hurried inside, head down, avoiding eye contact. The store was quiet before opening time. She hoped no one would say anything, but she felt tense. She needed this job. She needed to pay bills and buy medicine. Mr. Collins, the manager, spotted her by the time clock. He approached with a hard stare. "Aaliyah," he said, voice flat. "Office, now." Aaliyah followed him down the narrow hallway to a small, windowless room. Boxes of old receipts and extra store uniforms lined the walls. Collins closed the door behind them, arms crossed over his chest. He wasted no time. "I heard something disturbing," he said. "Employees saw you last night in the storage room with Mr. Peter." Aaliyah's throat went dry. "I can explain," she said, voice shaking a bit. He raised his hand, cutting her off. "I don't want details," he said. "I know what they saw. You were being inappropriate with the owner. This is not acceptable." Aaliyah's heart sank. "I didn't force anything," she said quickly. We... Collins ignored her words. "The company has rules," he said. "We don't allow that kind of behavior on the premises. I have a responsibility to keep order and maintain standards. The owner is too important to get involved in a scandal with a janitor." He lowered his voice, leaning closer. "We can't have rumors." Aaliyah clenched her fists at her sides, trying to stay calm. "You think I seduced him?" she asked, feeling anger rise. "I was just working. He came to me." Collins pressed his lips together. "Stop," he said. "I don't care who started it. You should have reported it or stopped it. Instead, you—" He paused, shaking his head. "This looks bad. Real bad." Aaliyah took a shaky breath. Her hands trembled. She tried one more time. "Mr. Collins, I need this job. I have a family. He raised a finger. "I'm sorry, Aaliyah," he said, voice cold. "You're terminated as of now. Gather your things and leave. I won't discuss this further." Aaliyah's knees felt weak. She could not believe it. Fired. Just like that. She tried to speak, but no words came out. Collins opened the door and gestured for her to exit. She stepped into the hallway, stunned, anger and fear mixing in her chest. The news spread fast. As she walked toward the exit, a few employees watched from a distance, whispering. No one offered comfort. No one asked if she was okay. She looked around for Peter, hoping he would appear and set things right. He was nowhere. Maybe he was not even in the building. She realized bitterly that he had all the power and could disappear when things got uncomfortable, leaving her with the mess. Aaliyah stepped outside into the morning sun. Her eyes burned, but she refused to cry in front of the store. She would go home. She would figure something out. She had no idea how. With no job, no income, how would she buy medicine for Liam? How would she pay the bills? She walked down the cracked sidewalk, past a few empty parking spaces. The supermarket's bright sign buzzed overhead. She passed a couple of early shoppers on their way in, who barely noticed her. She left the parking lot and crossed a dusty street. The air smelled like car exhaust and stale bread from a nearby bakery. Her head pounded. Halfway home, she stopped to catch her breath, leaning against a fence. Thoughts churned in her mind. She felt angry at Peter for putting her in this position. She felt angry at herself for allowing that kiss. Maybe she was weak. Maybe she should have pushed him away and left. But she had wanted that moment. Now she paid the price. Aaliyah kept walking until she reached her small house. The paint was peeling, and the yard was dry, except for a small patch of dirt where she tried to grow corn. Inside, Liam was playing quietly with a plastic truck. Her grandmother sat on the worn couch, looking tired. Aaliyah forced a smile. "How was work?" Grandma asked, voice thin. Aaliyah swallowed, kneeling beside Liam. He reached up and hugged her. She held him tight, feeling tears threaten. She did not want to worry them, but she had to tell the truth. She stood up, looked at her grandmother, and spoke in a low voice. "I lost the job," she said, hands shaking. "They fired me today. Something happened. I can't go back." Grandma's face tightened. She looked worried, but she nodded slowly. "We'll manage," she said quietly. "We always do." Aaliyah pressed her lips together. They had no other income besides the small amount she made selling corn now and then. There was barely any savings. She glanced at the patch of dirt outside the window. It would take time for anything to grow. They might have to eat less. Maybe she could find odd jobs. Maybe someone would hire her for a day or two. She had no idea. She put Liam to sit on her lap, stroking his hair. He looked at her with big eyes. "Mommy, are you sad?" he asked. Aaliyah forced a small smile. "A little," she said, voice gentle. "But I'm here with you. That's what matters." Liam nodded, pressing his face against her chest. She swallowed hard, fighting back tears. She could not break down now. She had to be strong. After a few minutes, Aaliyah stepped outside to check the small garden. The soil was dry. She would need to water it again. Maybe she could sell a bit of corn this week. It would not be much. The thought of facing tomorrow without a job weighed on her. She felt trapped and lost. A sound in the distance drew her attention. A truck rumbled by on the dirt road near the fence. She saw a familiar shape. Peter's truck, perhaps. Was he driving by, checking on her from a distance? She could not be sure. She felt a surge of anger. He was probably safe in his comfortable home, far from these problems. Aaliyah went back inside and sat down. She had to think of a plan. Maybe she could sell something else, or maybe ask a neighbor for temporary work. She pressed her face into her hands, breathing slowly. She had been so close to keeping everything stable. Now it was all gone. She feared what would happen if Liam got sick again and she could not pay for medicine. As the day wore on, she tried to stay calm. She did chores around the house, cooked a simple meal of rice and beans, and kept Liam entertained. But in the back of her mind, she felt panic. She had no steady income now. This could break them. She looked out the window one last time before dusk. The supermarket sign was far away, but she knew it was still there, glowing at night. She thought of Peter again. She wondered if he knew what happened today. Maybe he thought he had protected her. Maybe he had done nothing. She wanted to confront him, but she had no way to reach him. Aaliyah closed the curtains, holding Liam's small hand as they sat on the floor together. She would have to figure something out tomorrow. Tonight, she had to sleep, even if it would be restless and full of worry. At least they had each other. At least they still had a roof over their heads. Aaliyah woke early the next day. She had slept little, tossing and turning on the thin mattress. Liam still slept, curled into a ball. Her grandmother lay awake on the old couch, breathing quietly. Aaliyah put on her worn shoes and stepped outside. The air felt heavy. She walked to the small patch of dirt in the yard and knelt down. The corn plants looked weak. A recent storm had snapped some stalks, leaving them half dead. She frowned, pulling at a few weeds. There would be fewer ears of corn to sell this week. She stood up and went back inside. The kitchen shelves were almost empty. She had flour, some beans, and a bit of salt. Not much else. She needed to earn money, but who would hire her now? She had lost her job at the supermarket. The people who saw her with Peter would surely spread rumors. Some might think she had tried to seduce him for a promotion. Others might say she had no shame. Her grandmother watched her with tired eyes. "You have to find something," the old woman said, voice soft. "Go to the market. Try selling what you have." Aaliyah sighed. "It's not much," she said, "but I'll try." She looked at Liam, still sleeping soundly. She would need to leave him here with Grandma. He had been healthy lately, but she never knew when a cough or fever would hit. She had a few coins left, not enough for medicine if he got sick. She had to sell something, anything. By mid-morning, Aaliyah carried a small basket with a few ears of corn and some herbs she had managed to grow. The local market was a short walk away, a dusty area with simple stalls and a handful of customers. She set up on a corner, placing her produce in neat rows, trying to appear confident. A few people passed by and glanced at her goods. One woman bought 2 ears of corn for a few coins. Another man sniffed at the herbs and left without buying. After an hour, Aaliyah had barely earned enough to buy a loaf of bread. Her stomach felt hollow. She had to do better, but there was nothing else to sell. She stood there, tired and tense, when she noticed a folded piece of paper pushed under a small crate behind her stall. She frowned and picked it up. It had her name on it, written in neat letters. She opened it. The note was short. "Aaliyah, I am sorry. I know you lost your job. Please talk to me. I want to help. Peter." She crumpled the note, anger and confusion mixing inside her chest. How did he leave this here without her noticing? Why did he think he could just fix everything now? She tossed the paper into her basket and tried to focus on selling. No luck. The day wore on, and the sun grew hot. By late afternoon, she walked home with just a few coins and a heavy heart. She entered the small house. Liam was awake, playing quietly with a scrap of cloth he pretended was a superhero cape. Grandma looked at Aaliyah, noticing her empty basket. Aaliyah shook her head, pressing her lips together. Her grandmother reached out and touched Aaliyah's arm. "He wants to help," Grandma said. "Peter left you that note. Maybe you should listen." Aaliyah stiffened. "No," she said, voice low. "He ruined everything. I can't trust him." "I'll find another way." Grandma sighed, but did not argue. Aaliyah stepped outside and stared at her damaged corn plants. She tried to water them, using what little remained in their old barrel. The ground drank it up, but the plants drooped anyway. They needed time, care, and better soil. She felt helpless. Later, as evening fell, Aaliyah cooked a simple meal of beans and bread. Liam ate quietly, though he asked for something sweeter. She had nothing sweet to offer. Grandma ate slowly, her hands shaking a bit. They said little, all three aware of the thin walls and thinner prospects. As night settled in, Liam coughed once or twice. Aaliyah tensed, but the coughs stopped. She made him drink water. She hoped he was not getting sick. They had no money for medicine now. The small coins she earned today would not cover it. She tried to rest, lying on her thin mattress, listening to the quiet sounds of the night. Sleep did not come easily. The next morning, Liam coughed again, a wet, thick sound. Aaliyah put her hand on his forehead. He felt a bit warm. Fear clawed at her chest. She had no way to pay for medicine. She hurried outside, grabbing her old sandals, and rushed down the street to the small local clinic. The doctor there knew her, but he never gave free medicine. She arrived, explained she had no money, begged for something cheap. The doctor sighed, gave her a small bottle of cough syrup at a reduced price, but even that drained most of her remaining coins. She thanked him, feeling tears in her eyes. On the walk home, she passed by a neighbor who asked if she needed work. Aaliyah tried to say yes, but the neighbor shook his head. "I heard rumors about you and the supermarket boss," he said, looking away. "I can't risk hiring trouble." Aaliyah's cheeks burned. She walked faster, head down, cursing under her breath. Rumors had spread faster than she hoped. Now no one would help her. She felt trapped. Liam's cough might get worse. She had just enough syrup for a few days. What then? Back at home, she poured a small spoon of syrup and gave it to Liam. He swallowed and lay back down. Grandma watched Aaliyah's tight face. "You can't keep doing this alone," Grandma said. "Talk to Peter. Maybe he can help without asking anything." Aaliyah shook her head, pacing the small living room. "I don't trust him," she said. "He let me lose my job. He said he would protect me, but he did nothing." Grandma's eyes were steady. "Maybe he was too late," she said. "Maybe he regrets it. At least find out." Aaliyah picked at the edge of the couch, torn between pride and fear. She knew swallowing her pride might save Liam if he got sicker. She knew Peter had resources. But every time she pictured his face, she saw the moment in the storage room, the look in his eyes, the note he left. Why would he help now? Night fell again, and Aaliyah listened to Liam's breathing. He slept, but the cough was still there, waiting to return. Outside, the corn plants swayed in a slight breeze. She had no job, no reliable way to earn money. She faced a hard choice. The next morning, she woke before dawn and tried to work the soil, hoping to plant a few more seeds. She had almost nothing left, just a handful of seeds and a broken shovel. Her back ached from digging, her hands rough and calloused. She thought of Peter, his quiet voice, his apologies. She hated the idea of asking him for anything, but she was running out of options. Liam coughed again inside the house. Aaliyah stood up, dusted off her hands, and sighed. Her grandmother's voice drifted through the open window. "Go talk to him," Grandma said softly. "At least listen." Aaliyah pressed her lips together. She looked at the dry soil, the empty pantry inside, and the bottle of syrup that would soon run out. Maybe Grandma was right. Maybe she had to swallow her pride. She would try to talk to Peter, but she would be careful. No more surprises, no more blind trust. Aaliyah left the house before sunrise. She did not tell Liam or Grandma where she was going. She hoped to find Peter at his farm. Everyone knew where his land began, a few miles outside town. She walked along the dirt road, passing empty fields and a few old fences. The sky was pale. Her stomach felt hollow. After nearly an hour, she reached a wooden gate with a sign that read, "Walker Farm." She saw no one around, just a few empty trucks parked near a barn. She wondered if Peter would even talk to her. Maybe he would not come outside. She pushed the gate open, stepped onto the farm, and followed a narrow path toward the main house. It was a modest building compared to what people imagined a millionaire would own, but it looked sturdy and well kept. A man appeared from behind the barn, wearing faded jeans and carrying a toolbox. He stopped when he saw Aaliyah. "Can I help you?" he asked. His voice was calm but cautious. "I need to speak to Peter," Aaliyah said. She tried to keep her voice steady. "Is he here?" The man looked her up and down. "He's out back," he said, nodding toward the rear of the house. "Working with the fences. You can go around that way." "Thank you," Aaliyah said. She followed a path that led behind the house. There she saw Peter crouched near a wooden fence post, adjusting some wire with a pair of pliers. He wore a simple shirt and sturdy boots. His shoulders looked tense. She took a breath and approached slowly. Peter turned when he heard her footsteps. He stood up, holding the pliers at his side. His eyes widened slightly when he recognized her. He did not smile, but he did not turn away either. "Aaliyah," he said quietly. "You came." Aaliyah tried to keep her voice calm. "I got your note," she said. "You said you wanted to help." He nodded. "I meant it. I'm sorry about what happened." She stepped closer, stopping a few feet away. "I lost my job," she said, voice firm. "People blame me. They think I tried to use you. Now no one will hire me. My son is sick, and I can't afford medicine. You said you would protect me, but you did nothing." Peter's face tightened. "I tried," he said. "I didn't know they would fire you so fast. By the time I found out, it was done. I spoke to Collins afterward, but he wouldn't listen. He said it was final." Aaliyah looked at his boots, then back at his face. "You own that place," she said, anger creeping into her voice. "You could have stopped it." Peter shook his head. "I own the supermarket." "Yes," he said, "but I don't run daily decisions. I let Collins handle management. I didn't expect him to fire you without asking me first. When I tried to fix it, he refused. He said it would look suspicious if I interfered." Aaliyah swallowed, feeling frustration rise. "So that's it?" she asked. "I'm left with nothing because of a kiss we both wanted, and now I'm supposed to just accept that?" Peter set the pliers down on the fence post. He looked her in the eyes. "No," he said. "I'm not asking you to accept it. That's why I left the note. I'm sorry. I know sorry doesn't help much right now, but I want to do more. Tell me how I can help." Aaliyah took a slow breath. She looked around at the open fields, the distant barn, the trucks. This man had resources. He could do many things with a snap of his fingers, but could she trust him? "My grandmother thinks I should ask for your help," Aaliyah said. "I need money for medicine and a way to earn a living. I can't just take your charity and sit at home. I need steady work, something honest." Peter nodded. "I can give you a piece of land to farm," he said. "I have more land than I can use. You can plant what you want, sell it directly here, or at the market. I won't charge you. We can make a simple agreement. You farm, you sell, and you keep the money." Aaliyah felt a surge of relief and suspicion at the same time. "And what do you want in return?" she asked, crossing her arms over her chest. Peter frowned slightly. "I'm not asking for anything," he said. "You don't owe me. I'm trying to fix what I messed up. I know I pushed things too far that night. I shouldn't have kissed you there. I put you at risk. I regret that." Aaliyah studied his face. He did look sorry. She remembered how he had approached her gently, how they both had wanted that moment. She knew it was not all his fault. She had allowed it. Still, she needed to be cautious. "What if people talk?" she asked. "If I farm your land, they might say I'm your secret lover or something worse." Peter shrugged. "Let them talk," he said. "You'll have your own plot, your own produce. If anyone asks, tell them I rent it to you for nothing, or tell them it's none of their business. I'm tired of caring what they say." Aaliyah looked down, thinking it over. She needed a stable way to earn money. Her small garden at home was not enough. A piece of his land could mean more crops, more customers, maybe a chance to rebuild her life. She might even afford medicine for Liam and better care for Grandma. She had no other offers. No one else would hire her now. "All right," she said slowly. "I accept. But I have conditions. I don't want you showing up and acting like I owe you anything. I don't want you controlling what I grow or how I sell it. I want freedom to run it my way." Peter nodded. "Fair enough," he said. "You do as you wish. I'll help you set it up. I can lend you tools, seeds, and help you prepare the soil. After that, it's yours to manage." Aaliyah relaxed her shoulders a bit. "Okay," she said. "I appreciate it." She paused, looking at him. "But what about Liam? I need medicine. I need to make sure he's okay before any crops are ready to sell. That takes time." Peter reached into his pocket and pulled out a small stack of bills. He held them out. "Use this for medicine," he said, "and for any immediate needs. You can pay me back when you start selling your produce, if you want. If not, then consider it a gift. I won't chase you for it." Aaliyah looked at the money. She felt a lump in her throat. She needed this. Liam needed this. She reached out and took it, fingers brushing Peter's hand. She stepped back, clutching the bills. "Thank you," she said quietly. "I'll pay you back. I don't want charity. I just need a fair start." Peter nodded. "Do what you must," he said. "I'll have one of my men show you which plot of land you can use. He can start tilling it tomorrow. You can come by and choose your seeds. I won't interfere. Just let me know what you need." Aaliyah took another slow breath. "I guess I should go now," she said. "Liam's waiting. I'll come back tomorrow." Peter gave a slight nod. "Take care of your family," he said. "That matters first." Aaliyah turned and walked away. She followed the same path out, passing the barn and the empty trucks. The man who directed her earlier gave her a curious glance, but said nothing. She left the farm, holding the money tight. She felt cautious relief. She would buy medicine. She would feed her family. Then she would build a new life on that piece of land. She still did not fully trust Peter, but this was her best chance now. Aaliyah returned home and went straight to Liam's bedside. He was awake, but looked tired. She took out the medicine she bought with Peter's money and measured a dose. Liam swallowed it quietly and leaned back, closing his eyes. Aaliyah watched him breathe, feeling relief. At least now he had what he needed for a while. Her grandmother sat at the small kitchen table, hands folded. "You saw Peter?" Grandma asked, her voice low. Aaliyah nodded. "I did," she said. "He gave me money for medicine and offered me a plot of land. I can grow my own crops and sell them directly at his farm. He says he won't ask for anything in return." Grandma nodded. "That's good," she said. "You need it." Aaliyah sat down, rubbing her tired eyes. "I don't trust him completely," she said, "but I have no other choice." The next morning, Aaliyah woke early. She left Liam with Grandma again and headed back to Peter's farm. She found a worker waiting near a small plot of land behind the barn. He introduced himself as Carlos and handed her some tools. The soil looked rough, and there were stones scattered around. It would take time and effort. Aaliyah spent hours working the soil. She dug, pulled stones, and turned the dirt. Carlos helped a bit, showing her how to prepare rows for planting. By midday, her arms were sore, and sweat dripped down her forehead. She took a short break, drinking water from a bottle Carlos gave her. Peter approached after a while, hands at his sides. He stood a few feet away, not too close, and looked at the plot. "You're making progress," he said quietly. Aaliyah pressed her lips together. "Yes," she said. "It will take time before I can sell anything." Peter nodded. "I know," he said. "I can help you get seeds. I can lend you a small tractor if you need it." Aaliyah shook her head. "I'll plant by hand," she said. "I don't want to rely on your machines. I need to know I can do this myself." Peter looked thoughtful, but did not argue. "All right," he said. "If you change your mind, let me know." Aaliyah worked until her arms trembled from fatigue. Before she left, Peter handed her a small bag of seeds. She looked inside. Corn, beans, a few other vegetables. She nodded and thanked him. On the walk home, she tried not to think too much about the strange situation. She had lost a job because of that kiss, but now she had land and seeds from the same man. She felt conflicted. At home, Liam's cough had eased a bit, and he managed a small smile when he saw her. Aaliyah kissed his forehead and promised things would get better. Later that evening, she soaked the seeds in water and planned her planting schedule. Grandma watched quietly, nodding in approval. Over the next few days, Aaliyah returned to the farm daily. She prepared rows, planted seeds, and watered them using a rusty watering can Carlos found for her. The ground felt rough under her worn shoes. Her back ached. Still, it was honest work, and no one shouted at her. No one belittled her. Carlos was respectful. He showed her small tricks, like how to space the seeds or how to check the soil's moisture by feel. Peter appeared now and then, standing at a distance, observing. He sometimes asked if she needed anything. She often said no. He accepted her answers without pressing. After a few more days, Aaliyah noticed a subtle change in how he looked at her. He did not stare like before. He seemed cautious, careful not to make her uncomfortable. Late one afternoon, when Aaliyah was about to leave, Peter approached her again. "I've been thinking," he said, voice calm, "about what happened at the store, about how things got out of hand." Aaliyah stiffened, gripping the handle of her watering can. She did not want to talk about that now. She wanted to focus on rebuilding her life. "What about it?" she asked, keeping her voice even. Peter glanced at the ground. "I know I put you in a bad spot," he said. "I let my feelings get ahead of my common sense. I should have spoken to you differently, not rushed things. I should have stopped the rumors before Collins fired you." Aaliyah's heart beat faster. She remembered that moment in the storage room, how she let him kiss her, how it felt both right and wrong. She still felt angry and sad when she thought about losing her job. "It's done now," she said. "I can't go back to that store. Everyone thinks I'm trouble." Peter nodded slowly. "I understand," he said. "I can't change the past, but I can try to make things better now. You have this land. You'll have crops to sell. You can earn your own money." Aaliyah gripped the watering can harder. "I appreciate the help," she said. But don't think this makes us even. I'm still not sure I can trust you. You're still the reason I'm in this mess." Peter took a step back, giving her space. "I know," he said. "I'm not asking for forgiveness right now, just a chance to show you I can do the right thing." Aaliyah looked at him. His voice sounded steady. He did not reach out to touch her. He did not try to come closer. He kept his distance. Maybe he understood now. Maybe he respected her boundaries. "We'll see," Aaliyah said. She turned away, heading toward the path that led home. She did not hear him follow. She just heard the distant sounds of the farm, a quiet hum of tools and distant engines. Back at home, Liam's cough had lessened. He ate a little more. Grandma smiled at Aaliyah and asked if the seeds had been planted. Aaliyah nodded. She sat at the small table and rubbed her sore hands. She had a plan now. She would grow her crops, sell them, and buy what her family needed. She would not rely on Peter forever. The next morning, she returned to check the soil and water the seeds again. As she worked, Carlos mentioned that Peter had told him to let her be. "He told me not to bother you unless you ask for help," Carlos said, leaning on a rake. "He said you know what you're doing." Aaliyah looked up, surprised. "He said that?" she asked. Carlos nodded. "Yes. He seems to respect your wishes." Aaliyah pressed her lips together and returned to her work. If Peter respected her now, that was good. She did not need him hovering over her. She had to focus on getting the crops to grow. It would take weeks, maybe months, before she could harvest enough to make a profit. Until then, she had to keep working. Each day she tended the plot, returning home after several hours. She noticed small changes, tiny sprouts pushing through the soil, the ground holding moisture better. She took careful notes on what she planted and where. She tried to remain calm about the future. There was no guarantee of success, but at least she had a chance. After a few more days, Peter stopped by while she was weeding a row of seedlings. He did not come too close. He just said, "The sprouts look good," and waited for her reply. "They're growing," Aaliyah said, wiping sweat from her forehead. "It's a start." Peter nodded, then turned and walked away. He did not ask for anything. He did not push. Aaliyah watched him go, thinking that maybe he was trying to prove himself by staying out of her way. She appreciated that. She could handle her life now, at least for the moment. That evening, at home, Liam played on the floor while Grandma dozed off in the chair. Aaliyah mixed a few beans and rice for dinner. She still had little money, but at least Liam had the medicine he needed. She told herself that soon she would have enough produce to sell. Soon she could buy more food. Soon things would get better. Aaliyah woke before sunrise. She gathered a few tools and a small basket. Liam slept soundly, breathing easier each day. Grandma stirred, but said nothing. Aaliyah slipped out of the house and walked to Peter's farm again. Her legs ached from the daily trips, but she had no choice. She checked the small plot. The sprouts had grown a bit, tiny leaves pushing upward. She knelt and cleared away new weeds, careful not to damage the fragile plants. Carlos passed by, carrying a bucket of water. He nodded. "They're coming along," he said. "Might be a good harvest if the weather holds." Aaliyah grunted a quiet thanks and returned to work. She did not want to waste time on idle talk. Every hour counted. She needed enough crops to start selling. Maybe then she could buy more medicine in advance. Maybe some better food for Liam. By noon, Aaliyah's shirt stuck to her back with sweat. She stood and stretched her sore shoulders. Peter approached, keeping a respectful distance. He pointed toward a stack of wooden crates near the barn. "I had Carlos bring some crates," Peter said, "for when you're ready to harvest. Not now, of course, but later." Aaliyah narrowed her eyes. "Thanks," she said. "I'll use them when I need them." Peter nodded and did not press further. He looked at the small plot, at the careful rows of seedlings. "You're doing well," he said quietly. "It's not easy to start from nothing." Aaliyah wiped her forehead. "I have no other choice," she said. "I have to make this work." He did not reply immediately. He seemed to consider her words. "I understand," he said. "I respect what you're doing." Aaliyah said nothing else. She picked up her watering can and walked to the small well at the edge of the property. She drew water, carried it back, and carefully poured it around the seedlings. Peter stood watching for a moment, then turned and walked away without another word. Aaliyah was glad. She did not need him hovering. Over the next week, Aaliyah worked every day. She thinned the seedlings, weeded the rows, and checked for pests. Carlos gave her a few tips on how to handle small bugs. She managed to borrow some natural repellent from another farmhand. Each evening, she returned home to find Liam improving, eating more and coughing less. One morning, as she worked in the field, a light rain started. She felt relief. Rain would help the plants grow faster. She stood there, feeling the cool drops soak her hair. Carlos ran for cover under a small shed, but Aaliyah stayed, making sure the soil soaked up the moisture. When the rain ended, the ground looked darker, richer. A few days later, Peter approached again. He carried a small bag. He held it out to her. "Extra seeds," he said, voice neutral. "Different varieties. They might sell well." Aaliyah took the bag, looked inside, and saw various seeds labeled neatly. She appreciated that he didn't pressure her to use them. "Thanks," she said. "I'll plant them next season." Peter nodded. "Take your time," he said. Aaliyah continued her routine, barely noticing the passing days. Her hands became rough and calloused, her muscles stronger. She did not waste words on Peter or anyone else. She focused on her goal. Soon, the seedlings would become actual crops, and she could start selling. She didn't let herself dream too big. She just wanted steady income. At home, Liam laughed more. He played with his old toy truck and asked Aaliyah if she could buy him some fruit next time. Aaliyah smiled and said, "Maybe soon." Grandma nodded, watching them quietly. One afternoon, as Aaliyah inspected the plants, she saw Peter leaning on the fence. He didn't come closer. He just watched her work. She straightened and looked at him. He raised a hand in a small greeting, then turned and left. She frowned, wondering what he was thinking. He had kept his promise not to interfere, and he hadn't asked for anything. Another week passed. The crops grew taller. Aaliyah began to see tiny ears of corn forming on the stalks, small pods on bean plants. She touched them gently, careful not to damage anything. She knew it would still be some time before they were ready to harvest, but this was progress. Her hard work was showing results. That evening, at home, she told Grandma and Liam about the crops. Liam clapped his hands, excited. "Does that mean we can have more food soon?" he asked. Aaliyah smiled. "Yes," she said simply. "We just have to wait a bit longer." Grandma looked relieved. "You're doing fine," she said. "You've come a long way from that mess at the supermarket." Aaliyah's face hardened at the memory, but she nodded. She had a path now, one that did not depend on pleasing store managers. She could stand on her own. Peter had given her a start, but she was the one making it work. The next day, Aaliyah arrived at the farm early. She noticed Peter and Carlos talking near the barn. Peter glanced her way and said something to Carlos. Then Carlos approached her. "Mr. Peter wants to know if you need any help with irrigation," Carlos said. He mentioned a small irrigation line he could set up. Aaliyah thought about it. An irrigation line would save her time and effort, especially when there was no rain. But she had wanted to rely on herself. Still, this might help the crops grow faster, ensuring a better harvest. She looked toward Peter, who stood waiting for her answer from a distance. She called out, "All right, if it helps the plants grow better and faster, I'll take it." Peter nodded and turned away, as if satisfied with her decision. Carlos set to work that afternoon, laying a simple hose and drip system that would keep the soil moist without wasting water. Aaliyah watched closely, learning how it worked. Soon, she would not have to carry so many buckets. That evening, she walked home with a lighter load. She had accepted help, but on her terms. Peter had not demanded anything in return. She felt cautious relief. Maybe she could trust him a bit more. Not fully, but enough to accept practical help. Liam greeted her with a smile, showing her a small drawing he made on an old piece of paper. Grandma asked if everything was going well. Aaliyah nodded. Things were stable. She had medicine for Liam, seeds growing in the field, and a plan for the future. She sat on the floor, hugging her son, and thought about how different her life had been just a few weeks ago. She had lost her job in shame, but now she had a new start. Peter had changed his approach. He seemed willing to support her without demanding anything. Aaliyah still remembered the kiss, the confusion, and the anger. But now she felt in control of her own path. She would build her life step by step. If Peter wanted to help, she would not reject it blindly. She would accept only what made sense for her and her family. Aaliyah woke earlier than usual. She walked to the farm, her feet kicking up dust on the empty road. She carried a small knife and a few old cloth bags. The sun rose slowly, lighting the growing crops. She crouched down and inspected the corn. The ears felt firm. She pulled one gently, peeling back the husk. The kernels looked full. It was time to start a small harvest. Carlos appeared with a wooden crate. "Ready?" he asked. Aaliyah nodded and began cutting a few ears of corn and some beans. She worked carefully, placing them in the crate. She didn't want to strip the plants too much, just enough to test the market and bring home something fresh for Liam and Grandma. Peter showed up after a while, hands in his pockets. He watched as she sorted the produce. "They look good," he said simply. Aaliyah nodded, not looking at him. "I'll take a few to sell," she said, "and some home." She wrapped the beans in a cloth and placed the corn in a neat row. She planned to set up a small stand near the farm's entrance. Maybe some of Peter's workers would buy. Maybe a passerby would stop. She had to start somewhere. Carlos helped carry the crate to a spot under a tree. Aaliyah arranged the produce. It was not much, but it was hers, grown from her hard work. She waited, feeling her heart beat faster. This was the first step toward independence. Within the hour, a couple of workers approached. One bought 4 ears of corn. Another took some beans. They paid her directly, a few bills that she folded into her pocket. When they tasted her corn raw, they nodded, impressed. Word spread a little. By noon, she had sold most of what she brought out. Peter passed by and stopped near the stand. He did not reach for his wallet or try to buy anything. He just said, "You did well." Fresh produce always sells. If you bring more tomorrow, I'm sure people will want it. Aaliyah looked at him. I will, she said. This is just the start. He gave a short nod and walked on. She felt no tension now. He wasn't hovering or trying to push anything. He just acknowledged her success and moved on. She appreciated that. Later, Aaliyah gathered her earnings and headed home. She stopped at a small store on the way back, buying some extra food for Liam and Grandma. She picked up a few fresh fruits and a small carton of milk. She felt proud to pay with her own money, earned from her own crops. At home, she showed Liam the fruit. He laughed, happy. Grandma looked relieved. Aaliyah cooked a simple meal and served it with the fresh corn. They ate quietly, enjoying the taste. Liam's health had improved, and he seemed livelier every day. Aaliyah felt stable for the first time in weeks. The next morning, Aaliyah returned to the farm, repeating the process. She harvested a few ears of corn, some beans, and a handful of other vegetables starting to mature. This time, a couple of people from town appeared, having heard about fresh produce at the farm. She sold out quickly. The money was not huge, but it helped. Soon, she could buy more seeds, grow more crops, expand her small stand. Peter approached in the afternoon. You're drawing people here, he said. That's good. Aaliyah wiped her hands on her shirt. I plan to keep doing this, she said. I'll expand the plot after the next harvest. Maybe sell at the market again. Peter nodded. If you need more land, just say so, he said. I have plenty unused. Aaliyah thought it over. She might take more land later, but not now. She wanted to grow at her own pace. I'll manage with what I have for now, she said. That evening, Aaliyah counted her earnings at home. She could buy more medicine for Liam if needed. She could buy better shoes for herself. She could save a bit. Her grandmother noticed the change in her mood. You seem calmer, Grandma said. Less worried. Aaliyah nodded. I am, she said. I'm not rich, but I'm stable. I can feed us and save a bit each day. If Liam gets sick, I can buy what he needs. I don't depend on anyone else's job. I set my own pace. Grandma smiled. That's all I wanted for you, she said, to have a way forward. In the following days, Aaliyah refined her routine. She woke early, tended the plants, harvested what she could, sold it under the tree, and then returned home. Carlos sometimes helped with heavy lifting. Peter passed by now and then, always keeping a respectful distance. He never brought up the past again. He never demanded gratitude. He just offered a quiet presence, ready to assist if asked. Aaliyah began to trust him a little more. She saw that he respected her boundaries. He had corrected his earlier mistakes. She had never fully addressed the storage room kiss, but she felt no need now. They both understood that was in the past. She had moved on, building her life from scratch. He had helped, and that was enough. One afternoon, Liam and Grandma visited the farm. Aaliyah showed them the plot, the neat rows of plants. Liam ran around, laughing, pointing at the corn stalks taller than he was. Grandma sat on a small stool, watching quietly. Peter appeared and greeted them with a short nod. He said nothing else, respecting their space. Aaliyah felt grateful that he did not try to intrude. She did not want to explain their complicated history to Liam or Grandma. She just wanted them to see that she had made something good out of a bad situation. She wanted them to know she was not helpless. As the sun set, she walked home with them, holding Liam's hand. She had a small bag of fresh beans and some extra corn to cook for dinner. She felt calm inside. She had a plan for tomorrow, the next week, and the next season. She had regained control of her life. Aaliyah woke before dawn. She felt the morning air on her face as she left her small house. Liam and Grandma still slept. She walked to the farm, following her usual path along the dusty road. Her steps were steady. She had been doing this for weeks now. Her plot had grown healthy plants. Some were ready for daily harvesting. Others would need more time. She had a routine that worked. When she arrived, Carlos greeted her. He mentioned the weather looked good for the next few days. Aaliyah nodded and started checking the plants. She picked several ears of corn, some beans, and a few small pumpkins. She arranged them in crates and carried them to her makeshift stand under the tree. It had become known to a few customers who came by regularly. They would come soon, looking for fresh produce. As she waited, Peter approached, hands in his pockets, keeping a respectful distance. "Everything going well?" he asked. Aaliyah looked at her produce. "Yes," she said. "Crops are steady. Customers come every day. I'm making enough to cover our needs." Peter nodded. "That's good," he said. "If you need more seeds or tools, just say so." Aaliyah thought about it. She had enough for now. She could buy her own seeds soon. "I can manage," she said calmly. "If I need something, I'll ask." Peter accepted that answer. He stayed quiet for a moment, then said, "I'm glad you're doing well. I never meant for you to get hurt back then." Aaliyah tightened her grip on a small pumpkin. She remembered the storage room, the confusion, the consequences. "It's in the past," she said, keeping her voice even. "I built something from it." Peter took a slow breath. "I know," he said. "You've shown that you can stand on your own. I respect that." Aaliyah gave a short nod. A pickup truck appeared at the far end of the driveway. A small family stepped out, heading toward her stand. Aaliyah moved forward, meeting them with a neutral smile. She sold them a few ears of corn and a handful of beans. They paid, thanked her, and drove off. She slipped the money into her pocket. Peter watched from a distance and then headed toward the barn, leaving her alone with her customers and her crops. Aaliyah appreciated the space he gave her. She did not feel judged or pressured. She owned her decisions now. She controlled her business. Throughout the morning, a few more people stopped by. She sold nearly all she harvested. She saved a small bag of fresh produce to bring home. By noon, she packed up her crate, wiped the sweat from her forehead, and started walking back. Her pocket felt heavier with earnings. She could buy more supplies, maybe some meat for dinner. At home, Liam greeted her at the door. He looked healthier than ever. He ran around, excited about the fresh vegetables she brought. Grandma thanked Aaliyah for her hard work, relief showing in her eyes. They all knew life was better now. They had stable income, food on the table, and medicine if needed. After lunch, Aaliyah went outside and looked at her small backyard garden. The plants here were less impressive than on the farm, but she still tended them. She ran her fingers through the soil, feeling calm. She heard laughter from inside. Liam was happy, playing with his toy truck. Grandma was humming softly. Aaliyah realized she was no longer trapped by the past. She no longer relied on a low-paying job with a harsh manager. She was no longer defined by that single moment in the storage room. She had found a way to stand on her feet. Peter's help had made a difference, but she had done the real work. She had taken control of her life. As the afternoon light dimmed, Aaliyah prepared a simple dinner. Fresh beans, corn, and some bread she bought with her earnings. Liam ate with appetite. Grandma smiled, and Aaliyah felt a calm satisfaction. They were safe and stable now. She thought about tomorrow. She would return to the farm, check the crops, and continue selling. Maybe in time, she would expand. Maybe she would hire help or rent a small stand in town. She had many possibilities now. She was not a helpless victim. She had chosen her path and followed it through hard work and resolve. That night, after Liam fell asleep, Aaliyah sat near the small window. She looked into the darkness outside, thinking of everything that happened. She felt no anger toward Peter anymore. He had made mistakes, but he had also respected her choices afterward. He had given her space to grow. She might never forget the difficulties, but she had moved forward. Aaliyah climbed into bed, feeling the gentle ache in her muscles from a day's labor. It was the kind of ache that meant progress. She closed her eyes and pictured the green plants in the field, the neat rows, the solid earnings in her pocket. She thought of Liam's improved health, Grandma's calm breathing, and the steady rhythm of her new life. This was her home now, her routine, her independence. She would wake up tomorrow and do it all again, building a future that belonged to her and her family. If you enjoyed this story, don't miss the next one. Just click on the screen.